They call him an actor's actor, which obviously assumes that he's probably better than the rest, and there's no doubt that he's had more hits to his credit than most other actors. But the strange thing is we know very little about what he himself is actually like. Well, let's see if that changes as I introduce you to Amir Khan. Welcome to the program, Amir.
Thank you, Karan.
They say that you're a mystery, perhaps even an enigma. Is that correct, or are you just shy and protective of yourself?
Yeah, I guess I'm not too outgoing. I like to... yeah, I guess I'm shy.
But you do avoid the press as well, don't you?
Yes, well, the film press, to put it more accurately. I haven't spoken to the film press, especially mainly the English film press, for about maybe 7 years or 8 years now.
Is that as a point of principle, or did you burn your fingers and decide never again?
No, it's a bit of both, actually. I burnt my fingers like everybody else does. And then somewhere along the way, I also felt that I don't want to be part of this journalism. I can understand where they're coming from, and I can understand, what they're trying to achieve by the kind of journalism they're indulging in. But I don't agree with it, and I don't want to be part of it. So I decided that, I'm better off just not talking to them.
You've also consciously kept away from Filmfare Awards and other such ceremonies.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, to put it quite simply, I feel there are a lot of inconsistencies in those functions. And
Unfair awards? I mean, it's rigged?
Well, I don't have authentic proof for it, that it's rigged or not.
That you have your suspicions.
But that is my opinion. You can't really compare my performance in one film with somebody else's performance in another film. Or one director's work in one film and another director's work in another film. It's quite difficult to compare it. I realize that, a lot of strange things are happening, so I like to keep away from all this.
Okay, let's talk a little about yourself. You were born into a film producer's family. Did you have a very glamorous childhood?
No, in fact, I didn't. I had a lovely childhood, but not glamorous. My parents brought us up really well, and they looked after us really well. And I'm really grateful for that.
You weren't spoiled?
No, I wasn't spoiled, no. I don't think so. My parents have been quite strict with us. My father is quite a strict person. Parents are both very conservative. My mother is extremely soft-hearted and a really gentle person. So we had a mix of both. And I think, all in all, they brought us up really well.
Now, as a child, you with your siblings and cousins formed a gang. What was the sort of stuff you used to get up to?
Well, all kinds of things. I mean, I was really into, all kinds of sports and playing games and football and cricket and hockey. And we used to spend a lot of time with our cousins, Mansoor and Nuzhat, and Seema, Afzal, and Imtiaz, and Sabina. So there was like a lot of us, spending time together all the time. And, I think we had a pretty happy childhood.
There was a famous Imli operation where they made you the fall guy, didn't they?
The Watergate issue.
What happened?
Well, it was afternoon, and, Ammi used to keep all these burnies of Imlis in the kitchen. And my sister and cousins and all, they decided to pinch some of those Imlis. So they did that, and mom was sleeping, parents were sleeping, everyone, all the elders were asleep. So I was also wanting to have Imlis, And I was the youngest at that point of time, and I was like, even I want an Imli, and they weren't giving it to me. So I said, look, if you don't give me the Imlis, I'm going to go and tell mom. And they said, go and tell. So I went and told mom, and then I got a firing.
So you were the little sneak?
I was a sneak, and not only did I get a firing from my cousins, but also from my mom for sneaking. So I learned a lesson.
You were also very keen on swimming, but you never actually got to learn. What went wrong?
The reason was that my mom was really petrified of the water, and she was, scared something would happen to us. And in her overprotectiveness, she just didn't allow us to get into the pool. And as a result, none of us kids learned how to swim. And so now I'm, struggling and learning how to swim.
As a result, when you did Mela and you had to do that rescue scene with Twinkle, were you drowning yourself?
Actually, I was drowning, she was rescuing me. But we tried to make it look the other way.
Alongside all of this, Amir, the amazing thing is you're also, I'm told, quite a romantic at heart. As a teenager, You were frequently falling in love?
I did fall in love a few times, but unfortunately each time I, confessed my love to the girl, which took me a hell of a lot of time because I used to get really scared to confess, what I'm feeling. But when I did finally do that, I was rejected, I was rejected thrice.
Did you feel that you were driving?
So I didn't have 4 girlfriends. I just fell in love 4 times, but was unsuccessful each time.
Is it true that on one occasion when you got rejected, you even shaved your hair?
No, that was not. Oh Christ, where do you get all this? No, that wasn't because of a rejection. That was more. I mean, I lost the girl I loved, and she decided she no longer liked me. And so I was really upset, and I was like, I went and shaved my head off, which was quite a dumb thing to do, but anyway.
How old were you at the time?
I think I was about 17 or 18.
You got married at the age of 21.
Hmm.
How and where did you first see your wife, Reena?
Reena and I met, we live in the same locality, and her building is right opposite mine, and our windows in fact face each other. So I saw her, and
Looking out of the window?
looking out of the window. Also, I used to go to her building. I had a lot of friends there, and so I saw her, and I slowly started falling in love with her.
So it really was a case of meri samne wali khidki mein.
Kind of, actually, yes. Very Padosan kind of a situation. And gradually we fell in love, and in fact, ultimately we developed this sign language, which we had across our windows, and we also had particular symbols for whether she's at home, whether I'm at home. If I'm at home, where am I? What am I doing? Has she gone for driving classes? Has she gone for typing classes? So depending on how her curtains were and which window was closed, which was open, I'd know what she was doing at that point of time.
This is almost an entire language that you
Yeah,
developed.
we actually developed a language. I mean, we could converse just by sign language across 100 meters.
Did you ever get to speak verbally to her?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, of course. But there was a time when I didn't meet her for quite a few months.
And the curtain said it all.
And the curtain said it all, and I used to look at her and just communicate through sign language.
Now, how long did it take before you actually declared your love for her?
Declared my love, I think it took me about 6 months or more than that, of just looking at her. Mind you, when I was looking at her, there was no sign language. I used to just look at her, and it's only when we started seeing each other that we, But before that, I used to just look at her and hope for the best.
But you are lucky. You hoped for the best when you first declared your love. Apparently, she wasn't terribly impressed.
No, she rejected me right away.
And you said, here it goes again.
I said, here it goes again. I was like, not again. When is some girl going to fall in love with me? But this time I was like, I'm not going to let it pass. So I said, look, I think you're in love with me, and you're not telling me because you're scared of your parents.
Now, what did she say?
She said, no, I'm not scared of my parents, and I don't like you. So
what did you say?
I was like, but I felt she liked me because I could see it in her eyes. Not at that point of time, but
When she was looking out of the window.
When she was looking out of the window. So I told her that, look, take your time, and you can answer me in a few days. She said, I don't need to. I can tell you right away. So then I told her, okay, look, I won't bother you anymore.
And you actually gave up?
I gave up, yeah. I told her that if she ever changes her mind, then she should call me. And she said, yeah, don't worry, I'll call you if I change my mind.
But did she call?
She didn't call, but I mean, she met me a few months later. And for those couple of months, I stopped seeing her. I tried to avoid going to her building because I was heartbroken, and I didn't want to feel worse, being with her. So I just tried to stay away from her and tried to get over it. And then 2 months later, I met her, and I was walking on the road, and she was walking past. So I wished her. I said, hi, how are you? And then she said, I want to tell you something. So I was like, what? And she was really nervous. And, she said, not now, I'll tell you later. So I was like, okay. But then I felt, I got the feel at that point that, she might be actually telling me that she loves me, so I wasn't sure.
Your heart was racing.
It was racing, yeah. And then 2 days later, she met me and she said that, do you still feel the same way about me? And I said, yeah.
So this time it was I just called to say I love you.
It was, yeah. Yeah, I was quite.
Is it true that during this period you used to write letters to her in blood and that you even serenaded her with your songs?
Well, I used to sing to her. I don't think she liked it too much, but I still sang to her. And I did write one letter in blood, which...
Your own?
My... Yes, my own, which, she really fired me for that. And,
when you got married, you eventually eloped.
Yeah.
Did it take a lot of courage to do that?
Yes, it did. Well, it was a point in time in our lives when we were both young, we were both very much in love with each other, and both of us were scared that we might lose each other because of other pressures and parents, stuff like that. And I guess we were really scared that we'd lose each other. And as a result, we decided to get married, and we went ahead and did that.
How did it happen? Did you catch a taxi, a scooter? Did you go by bus?
We went by bus.
Literally?
Yeah. We went by bus. I mean, we didn't...
You walked across to the bus stand and caught a bus to the register?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we didn't elope in the sense that we didn't get married and run away, but we got married secretly. And, I caught the 211 from next to my house, went to Bandra East, Bandra Station, crossed over, went to Bandra East, walked to Griha Nirman Bhavan, still remember it. And there's the registrar's office, and I had applied a month back, gave notice for marriage. So we just went across, got married, and went back to our individual homes.
And kept this marriage a secret?
For about 6 months.
No parent on either side had any idea?
No.
How did you break the news to them?
Well, it was broken quite by accident, because we didn't want to tell them that we were married. And we wanted to tell them much later, maybe 3 years down the line, I don't know when, whenever we were ready to live together and, independently.
So who let the cat out of the bag?
Well, Reena's sister, actually. She got to know because Reena told her, and she was quite hassled, and she told her parents, and then I told my parents, and all hell broke loose. But I think her parents were quite shocked and quite disturbed, and rightly so. And my parents also were shocked and disturbed, but they, kind of understood the circumstances in which all this had happened, and they realized that, what's done is done. Reena's parents took a little more time to accept me and accept the marriage, but not too long. Just about a couple of months, I think.
They accepted you pretty quickly, because shortly afterwards, your sister Farhat married Reena's brother.
That's right.
You seem to have started a family tradition.
Yeah. Yeah, my younger sister Farhat has married Reena's younger brother Rajiv, and actually shortly after we got her parents got to know, I was at their house, and her father said to me that, I'm really glad that my daughter has chosen you as her husband. And that was like a really touching moment for me, because that was real acceptance for me.
Did it bring tears to your eyes?
It did, and it brought tears to his eyes also, actually. Yeah.
I mean, let's take a break. I want to come back in part 2 and talk about the career that you've done in films and the roles that you've played. We'll be back in just a couple of moments. Stick with us. Welcome back. My guest is Amir Khan. Amir, let's talk a little about your film career. You first acted when you were barely 7. Do you remember Yadon Ki Barat?
Yeah, vaguely. It was a film directed by my uncle, and he just asked me to, play the role. I said, yeah.
Were you acting or were you just being yourself?
I don't remember acting much. I was just being myself and trying to do what I was being told to do, and not doing it too well, actually.
Looking at your film roles, you've done a whole range of characters, and the most important thing is that each tends to be markedly different from the last one. What do you look for when you're choosing a role?
There's nothing particular that I look for. When I read a script, I want, at that point I'm the audience, and if the script excites me, if it moves me, then I like, then I like the script.
So it has to be something that appeals to the heart.
Yeah, it has to be something that appeals to my heart. I mean, I react instinctively to scripts, and when I read a script, if it moves me, if I love it, then I want to do it.
But you only do 1, maybe 2 films a year. Is that because you're picky, or is it because you're a little lazy?
Maybe a bit of both. I don't think I can do any more work than I'm already doing. I mean, I'm working, almost every day of the year.
But the industry is full of stories of people doing 15 or 20 roles at a time. I mean, in comparison, you're almost an aberration.
Yeah, actually, over the years, the Indian film industry has formed a system of its own of working, which somehow I don't, I can't work that way. So I work in my own way. I do 1 film at a time.
You prefer to pace yourself, and you also prefer to devote yourself more concentratedly.
Yeah, I like to take 1 thing at a time and give it all that I have. I work very passionately, and I do everything passionately. So when I'm doing a film, I want to be totally involved in it.
In fact, you're right.
When I'm not doing a film, then I just don't want anything to do with films. I want to just be with my family, read a book, do other things. And then when I pick a film again, it's like,
You're right about the passion, because the most important memory of you that lingers after a film is the intensity you bring to your performances. How do you prepare yourself for them?
The first thing I do is I try and understand how the director sees the film, because that's really important. It's filmmaking is storytelling, and the director is the person who's telling the story, and he's got all these tools with him. One of the tools he has is the actors, and he has to use them to tell his story. And so my first job really as an actor is to understand how the director sees the film, how he wants to tell the story.
And then?
Then I try and achieve that, and try and give them that. I try and use whatever information I have about the character.
So a lot of research goes into it?
It depends what the role is. A film like Sarfarosh, I did a lot more research. A film like Raja Hindustani, I did much less research. In a film like Raja Hindustani, I have to use my imagination more than my research, because it's not meant to be a realistic film. If I actually research about a taxi driver somewhere in a small town in north of India, and I play it that way, I would not be doing what is right for the film, because the film is larger than life. The approach of the director towards the film is larger than life, and I have to understand that. I have to understand the key that the film is playing.
But do you also try somewhere to become the person during the duration of the film?
For the duration of the shot, yes.
Not the film?
Not the film. I try and form an imaginary person in my mind of the character I'm playing, and once I've understood that, then everything else flows. Once I have the image in my mind of the character I'm playing, then everything flows after that.
Let's talk about some of the roles you've done. For instance, in Raja Hindustani, there was that drunk scene.
Yeah.
And apparently you've never drunk before.
Yeah.
So how does a man who's a teetotaler act as a drunk and do it so convincingly? You won the Filmfare Award for it.
That's hardly saying much. What I did for that simply was that since I'm a teetotaler, and until then I had never drunk, I decided to do that scene,
Under the influence?
Under the influence of alcohol.
So how much did you drink?
Well, I ended up drinking a bottle of vodka.
So you weren't acting at all, you were
I
genuinely
wasn't
drunk.
acting. Well, I told my director, I said, look, I'm not confident of playing this scene. And I don't know what it's like to be drunk, and I'm quite sure I'll mess it up. So let me actually consume alcohol so that the physicality is taken care of. You know, the way my eyes moves, the way the body language happens, a bit of speech. And I have to be with the emotion. And I have to know my lines. But I'll get this external help which I can use. So that is why I did that. And
Now there was another very famous role that you played in Akele Hum Akele Tum, the famous court scene.
Yeah.
Is it true, for instance, that you did it entirely in one take?
Yes, that the entire monologue that I had was in one take. In fact, Mansoor wanted in different magnifications. So close up, mid, and full figure. And each time I would do it in one complete go, because that's the kind of thing which you can't break up and do. And
it begins with you completely dry-eyed, but by the end you're crying.
yeah.
And if it's done in one take, clearly you aren't using glycerine. So was it
Yeah.
easy to make yourself cry?
No, it wasn't, because see, at such moments, you have to tap what is in the script. The emotion of the character in that moment is what you have to tap into, and you have to feel like that character. You know, when you're sitting over there, you have to feel like the character. So when you feel like that character and you start speaking, you know, you start crying. I mean, you know, whatever emotion you're meant to do starts coming out.
Do you know instinctively when you've hit the right note, when you've
Yeah.
got the right character?
Sometimes. Sometimes I know. Most of the time I'm confused. But sometimes I know that, you know, I've got it right. And that's the time that you get so much joy. You know, when you know you've done exactly what you had in mind and you've achieved what you thought you could.
That's the thrill of acting.
That's the thrill for me, yeah.
Now, at the moment, you're producing your first film, Lagan. Most actors tend to become directors. What made you become a producer?
You know, this is really strange, because when I started acting, one of the things I was really clear about is that I would never produce. Because I've seen my father, you know, being a producer over the last 25, 30 years, and I was like, this is one thing I don't want to do. And then strangely enough, you know, I become a producer. I mean, so I had no intentions of becoming a producer.
So do you think it's genetic?
No. No, but what happened is that Ashutosh, the director of the film, Lagan, came up with a script which I simply loved. And, you know, I felt that, one, I want to produce this, because I wanted to, and the other thing was that I didn't want this material to get messed up. So I felt, and it's a difficult film to make, it's an expensive film to make. And I felt that, you know, I don't want to take a chance with somebody who might not value it as much as I value it. And so therefore I decided to produce it myself. And, you know, give the creative team the opportunity to come out with the best they can.
Well, Amir, I'm sure that's one movie that your fans and many others will be longing to see. Good luck and thank you very much for a wonderful interview.
Pleasure.